Last year, Time magazine featured a confident-looking Rand Paul on their front cover. To them and many others, he was more than just the most interesting man in politics. He was the candidate who would shake up the presidential race, bring libertarianism to the fore, and seriously challenge for the big chair at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Flash forward to now. Rand Paul is barely registering in many of the polls. He's been shoveled to the back of mainstream media coverage and finds himself seeking ways to reinvigorate the campaign. Talk with the candidate one-on-one as we did, and hear a man who refuses to surrender and who believes that if the GOP is to recapture the White House, they need to start looking a lot more like the rest of America.
They need to do a better job covering us. We're out there every day. I had 700 kids at University of Iowa. I had 600 or 700 at Iowa State. The media has decided that they're going to call up 200 people. Many of these polls are 200 people. The margin of error is plus or minus 5. So when someone gets 5 in a poll, they could be 0 or they could be 10. I think also the polling at this time measures one aspect, primarily name recognition. And the polls are somewhat skewed by a celebrity skewing, a celebrity reality TV star who is skewing the polls to a certain extent. And I think ultimately, if you look really closely at these polls and you say, how many people have decided who you're going to vote on? It's like 15%. What they do is, the undecided, they say, well, who would you pick now? But most of the people with the initial question have not yet decided. So I think the polls are still very fluid, and you've seen people exactly the same stages where we are come back and actually win in Iowa, and that's what we plan on doing.
So has the media then, many of the major media outlets, have they already decided that Rand Paul's not going to be president? We're going to do whatever we can to make sure that no one pays attention to him?
Yeah, I don't know if it's so conspiratorial, but I think that there is a decision that overemphasizes polling and underemphasizes organizational ability, and also underemphasizes a couple of other things. We tell Republicans it's important to have a Republican that actually can beat the Democrat. This isn't just about, winning the red states. Anybody on the stage probably can win the red states. This is about picking someone who can win Michigan, Ohio, Illinois, New Hampshire, Iowa, all purple states, all states won by President Obama. And when you look at my polling of me directly with Hillary Clinton in those states, I'm one of the few Republicans that actually beats her in all 5 of those states.
But you're talking about compromise in many ways. I mean, meeting in the middle, which seems to be something that is anathema right now to the GOP. It's either got to be here or nothing in between. So then why are you the guy, and what will you then do to bring people together?
I think I'm a different kind of Republican. I'm a kind of Republican that will campaign in the south side of Chicago. That's how you're going to win. Any of the Republicans can get the Republican vote. You got to go out and get independent vote, or you got to go into the African American community where we've gotten less than 5% of the vote in south side of Chicago or in Detroit. We bring those numbers up, we begin to win all of those states again. And we can. When I talk to African Americans in the south side of Chicago, they're upset about all their kids being locked up for petty, nonviolent drug crimes. They're upset that their schools are pitiful. And they're upset that the money gets stolen by City Hall before it ever gets to anybody. And so poverty is worse, unemployment is worse. Young African American men between the ages of 20 and 25, in Baltimore, the unemployment rate is 37%. Worse than the Great Depression. They recognize it, and when you say, well, what have the Democrats done for you? They're ready to think about another candidate, but only a candidate that will come in and say, I'm not going to arrest all your young men for marijuana offenses.
But you're the lone wolf actually crying out there, because there's still many people who look at the GOP, and every time somebody says something, it's bang. They shoot themselves right in the foot. They say something. The Democrats are all over it. The media's all over it. People have this perception that the Republicans can't stop saying the wrong thing and doing the wrong thing, and you've got to change that or else you'll never get them to vote for you.
Well, I tell people that until the Republican Party looks like the rest of America, black, white, rich, poor, with earrings, without earrings, with tattoos and without tattoos, until we look like the rest of America, working class folks in our party thinking that what we're offering is the best for working class people, until that happens, we're not going to win again. And this is all sort of a game in the Republican primary. But really, ultimately, people are going to have to stop and think who can best win in the fall. And I think I am positioned to go after independent voters and the young voters in a way no other candidate is.
The final one-on-one with Rand Paul comes up Thursday right here on the Hardline. Join us then. But here's the question. Did you hear what he said? Until the GOP starts looking like the rest of America. What did you think about that specific comment? And is that how the GOP is set to rise? Contact us. Let us know on social media. We'll talk about it here. And the fastest 60 minutes in news, the Hardline, continues.